Number 10. Zom. When Umar, the sister of Doramu, invaded Earth and Doctor Strange could not defeat her, he needed some way to put her down. The Ancient One told Doctor Strange about the interdimensional being known as Zom. Zom easily defeated Umar, but being free and not wanting to go back, he turns on Doctor Strange. Zom is so powerful that there was absolutely nothing that Doctor Strange could do. Even if all the reality warping heroes and all the Avengers combined forces, they would not have been able to defeat Zom. It took the power of the Living Tribunal, the judge of the multiverse, who had not even been seen in Marvel Comics before this point, to whisk him away. And then, the Tribunal scolded Doctor Strange for summoning a being who could literally wipe out the multiverse. Zom has no other goal than to completely annihilate and destroy everything. Ever. Zom is one of the most powerful mystical entities in the entire Marvel universe, and the Living Tribunal is the only person who has been shown to stop him. But we haven't seen much of him at all, which is why I put him at number 10. Number 9. The Batman Who Laughs. He's relatively new to comics, but he is nonetheless an exceedingly powerful character. He hails from Earth -22, where Batman kills the Joker, releasing a concentrated form of Joker toxin that turns Bruce into a Batman-Joker hybrid, with all the intelligence and athleticism mixed with the insanity and psychosis of the Joker. So how is he beyond the mega level? Because of the resources and mind he possesses. He has a book on how to destroy the multiverse, as well as a real-world comic book that lays out the structure of the universe. He has a pack of metal cards that can warp reality. His visor allows him to see the dark multiverse as well as people's fears and dark desires, which he can then manipulate. He can recruit minions to his cause like his Robins, and can turn people to his side with his Joker toxin. People like Shazam, as an example. He has killed Superman, Martian Manhunter, The Flash, Plastic Man, and Wonder Woman on his Earth. It's essentially what would happen if Batman was evil and had prep time. The answer is part of one of the best comic stories in recent years. And I'm not sorry, I always talk about him. Number 8. Doramu. Doramu is one of a race of extra-dimensional energy beings called the Faltine. Him and his sister, Umar, are both mutants of the species, who seek to consume matter instead of energy, which is a big no-no. And, along with killing their pops, it caused them to be banished. They both traveled to the Dark Dimension, and eventually, Doramu took it over. Doramu is the prime enemy of the Vishanti. They're the gods who give the Sorcerer Supreme his power, and it's stated by Odin that this guy is his equal in power. He's more powerful than even the greatest sorcerers, including Doctor Strange and the Ancient One, and he can banish anyone from his domain, the Dark Dimension. But he usually fights them for a bit of sport, you know? He also has super strength, astral projection, matter transmutation, interdimensional teleportation, flight, he can change his appearance and size, he can control the elements, time travel, and project and absorb energy. He's also immortal and has a regenerative healing factor, which seems kinda useless if you're immortal, but hey, I just work here. Hey, it's me. Just a regular dude. No Omega level powers, but you know what? I don't need it. I thrive off the support you guys show when you like and subscribe to this channel. So thanks for that, you beautiful, beautiful people. We appreciate you. Number 7. Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is one of the greatest of the leaders of the Old Ones, also known as the Many-Angled Ones. Think like Lovecraftian old gods, and that's basically the Old Ones. Shuma Gorath is the ruler of hundreds of dimensions, and is said to be older than the universe itself. He has many, many mystical powers, including the ability to communicate and control others across dimensions, create mystical energy blasts from his eye and his tentacles, and can transmute things on a planetary scale. He can destroy multiple galaxies with his aura pressure ability, and can control realities by using his tentacles to create a ball of energy that he launches at the reality. They first fully premiered in Marvel Premiere Volume 1, Number 10. In the comic, Shuma Gorath ends up using the mind of the Ancient One, Doctor Strange's mentor, as a portal to the dimension of Earth. Doctor Strange goes into the Ancient One's mind to battle the defenses of Shuma Gorath, and fight his way into his realm, only to realize that the only way to win is to actually kill the Ancient One. He's forced to do it, and it leads to him becoming the Sorcerer Supreme for the first time. Number 6. Mad Jim Jaspers. When Captain Britain is sent to Earth 238, where there are no heroes of any kind, what we come to learn is that a guy named Mad Jim Jaspers is the Prime Minister of England, and he's created a cyborg called the Fury that can adapt to anything, to destroy all the superpowered beings on this Earth. But that's not Jim's power. See, we are being delivered this information from inside of a teapot helicopter that is immensely bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside, with the room growing and characters appearing that are dead or that resemble Alice in Wonderland characters. That's because Mad Jim Jaspers has the ability to warp reality. When Earth 238's reality is completely destroyed, we're eventually introduced to an Earth 616 reality, Mad Jim Jaspers, who is way more powerful than his 238 counterpart. When Captain Britain pays him a visit, Jim uses his powers to make Captain Britain believe he was dreaming and that he has just woken up out of a coma. He then gets frustrated and wipes this entire reality clean to start fresh. He is eventually destroyed by the Fury cyborg that survived the 238 reality, who teleports Mad Jim to the empty 238 reality, where there is no reality for Mad Jim Jaspers to warp, and the Fury cyborg kills him. It's kind of confusing. Number 5. Mr. Mxyzptlk. As a magician and jester of the king in the 5th dimension, Mr. Mxyzptlk is one of Superman's wackiest villains. His level of reality warping powers are immense, but he uses his powers primarily to have a fun time, honestly. The guy is mainly bored. When he first appeared back in the day, he altered the weight of his own body so paramedics couldn't pick him up. And he made the mayor sound like a donkey. There's a story where he makes himself look like Clark Kent and then wipes his own memory so that he forgets he isn't Clark Kent. He breaks the fourth wall, can become a character in a television show, can turn off gravity, moves forward and backwards in time, is revived if he dies, and has interacted with the writers of the stories. His powers are only ever limited by his own imagination. Luckily, he isn't truly evil. He just likes to play around. But what if he was evil? Number 4. Emperor Joker. The Joker isn't beyond Omega level. He isn't even Omega level. He doesn't have any powers at all, actually. But when he tricks Mr. Mxyzptlk, the last guy on this list, into granting Joker 99.99% of his power, he definitely becomes one hell of a powerful character. He warped reality within 69 seconds into a place of his own design. He kept himself entertained by killing people over and over again, specifically Bruce Wayne, Batman, who he would torture and murder and revive over and over. He turned Superman into a dog for a time and put him in a time loop where he is constantly breaking out of Arkham Asylum. He ate the entire population of China's skulls out of a takeout box. He is nearly omnipotent and omniscient. He can change anything he wants in time and space, and his madness is at a level beyond anything we've seen before this. He ends up destroying this universe because of his misuse of power, but he can just rebuild it. You should read this story. Number 3. Chaos King. This guy is another character who hasn't been around for too long. He first appeared in 2006 and is referred to as the Japanese god of chaos, who subdued the pantheon of Japanese gods and decided to go after the Greek gods next. He has the ability to instantly transport armies wherever he wants. Armies that are made out of those that he's already killed. He even mortally wounded Zeus before being killed and eventually resurrecting himself. Chaos King thrived in the void before the Marvel multiverse was even created, and he and Eternity are basically of the same level. Eternity representing everything in the universe, and Chaos King representing nothing. During the Chaos War event, he kills Egyptian gods, Celtic gods, Shi'ar gods, gods of Zenlar, and he goes to the dream dimension and kills Nightmare. This guy even goes into hell and destroys Mephisto, as well as casting Mistress Death out of hell. The embodiment of death ran away from this guy. God Hercules, Galactus, and the Silver Surfer couldn't defeat him until Hercules used all of his strength to punch the Chaos King into a dimension of nothingness after he has destroyed 98.76% of the multiverse. Yeah, he's kinda nuts. Number 2, the Beyonders. The Beyonders come from a dimension outside the Marvel multiverse. Omnipotent, all-powerful, can create and destroy life, create planets and stars. They created the Molecule Man in every universe in order to destroy them all and blow up the whole multiverse just to see what would happen. They have killed celestials and cosmic entities of every universe, even the living tribunal who was supposed to maintain balance in the multiverse. by just 3 of them. There is nothing that they can't defeat, save for the one above all, who is basically the creator of everything. Their displays of power are absolutely above almost any one character in the Marvel universe. They're the reason the whole Incursions event happened. They have gone to battle with Thor and Hyperion, who held their own for a fair amount of time before being defeated, and that is the only reason the Beyonders aren't at the #1 spot. Number 1, Marquee of Death. It's absolutely stupid how powerful this character is. Basically, there's this mutant, Clyde, who was taken to an asylum and wasn't allowed to have his comics. This resulted in him using his mutant powers to bring villains from a superhero reality into this reality. Eventually, the heroes of that reality show up and they win, and they end up bringing Clyde back to their universe to help him. Clyde eventually kills all the villains in that universe with a wave of his hand and spends 1 billion years learning how to manipulate space and time. Fast forward to after the events of Dark Reign, Dr. Doom's master shows up. It's Clyde! But he's much different. Disappointed with Doom's progress on this Earth, the Marquee of Death and Doom start a fight that lasts 6 weeks, ending with Dr. Doom winning and encasing the Marquee and his apprentice in an Omega box. Just kidding, it's actually been 6 seconds and the Marquee of Death warped Doom's reality, making him think all that just happened. He then turns Doom's heart to stone, turns his blood into acid, and then sends Doom 65 million years back in time. He does way more bonker things than just that, but I can't cover it all. Read the story, you will not be disappointed. Coming in at number 10 today, it's Monarch. Born into the esteemed Braddock family, James Jamie Braddock Jr. didn't manifest his reality warping abilities until adulthood. His extraordinary powers hinge on the manipulation of quantum strings, granting him dominion over the very fabric of reality. Operating under the moniker Monarch, he wields a range of abilities from teleportation to nightmarish bodily distortions and even the ability to sow utter chaos throughout the cosmos. As his powers elevated, Jamie Braddock evolved into one of Earth's most perilous and erratic mutants. Ultimately though, Monarch met his demise at the hands of his own siblings, Captain Britain and Psylocke, who sought out to safeguard the multiverse from the dangerous power that he wielded. But despite the danger, the 5 on Krakoa successfully resurrected him, and he harnessed his capabilities to ascend as the ruler of Avalon, solidifying his status as a true monarch within the realm of Otherworld.
If you're enjoying this video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing the notification bell. Adam and I really appreciate it. At number 9 is Vulcan. Vulcan, also known as Gabriel Summers, emerges from the tangled web of mutant abilities as a formidable figure overshadowing even his renowned brothers, Scott and Alex. His tumultuous upbringing, marked by neglect and isolation, set the stage for his unparalleled powers. Unlike Scott's optic blast, or Alex's energy conversion, Gabriel possesses the astounding gift of energy manipulation and absorption, seemingly boundless in its potential. Now, what sets Vulcan apart is his ability to voraciously absorb vast quantities of raw energy and retain it within himself like a cosmic battery. This stored energy can be wielded at his discretion or redirected as needed, making him a walking powerhouse. In the annals of mutant classification, Vulcan has transcended traditional boundaries, earning the elusive title of Beyond Mutant Level from discerning minds like Rachel Summers. The Summers bloodline, it seems, has birthed not 1, but 2 extraordinary mutants, with Rachel herself as a testament to the family's unparalleled genetic legacy.
Number 8, Mr. M. Mr. M, also known as Absalom Mercator, is one of Marvel Comics' most powerful mutants. His mutant ability grants him control over matter on a molecular level, allowing him to manipulate and reshape materials, elements, and even living organisms with a mere thought. But unlike other matter manipulators, he can only manipulate already existing matter. This differentiates him as being a matter manipulator, but not a reality manipulator. Don't think that makes him a pushover though, not by a long shot. He has used his abilities to repair machinery, become intangible, heal injuries of both himself and others, remove or augment superhuman qualities, and even create and evolve lesser life forms. He can also manipulate energy, which has allowed him to generate lightning, fire, explosions, and the ability to create force fields. He basically became a savior figure for a group of mutants before being taken out, but even then he seemed to revive himself by becoming a bunch of butterflies, and he was revealed to be alive still later, charged with protecting the Siege Perilous in a part of Otherworld, which he now controls.
At number 7 is Exodus. Bennett du Paris was born in the 12th century, having always felt isolated from his peers, probably because he was about to become one of the most powerful mutants the world will ever see. His journey from a lost crusader in the Palestine to becoming one of Apocalypse's pawns and eventually a zealous follower of Magneto paints a tale of ever-evolving power dynamics. But what sets Exodus apart from the legion of comic book villains is his astounding psychic abilities. He ranks among Earth's most formidable psychics, wielding an arsenal of telekinetic and telepathic powers. Now, while the origin of his additional abilities remains shrouded in mystery, those being teleportation and energy blasts, it's clear that his immense telekinetic and telepathic prowess fuels them somehow. One of his most astonishing feats involved encapsulating all of Genosha within a psionic dome. This dome not only imprisoned heroes and cut off communication from the outside, but he could also manipulate the dome's size, shrinking it to crush entire buildings. But what's even more impressive was the fact that he was able to maintain the dome's integrity while also psionically influencing the island's populace, keeping powerful telepaths like Jean Grey and the rest under his control, while also battling legions of superheroes at the same time. Although this display of absolute power is probably an outlier, it highlights Exodus's sheer power and potential, making him a formidable antagonist lurking far beyond Omega level capabilities.
Number 6, Magneto. Magneto boasts a storied history in the Marvel Universe, largely characterized by his antagonistic role as the foremost rival of Professor Charles Xavier. What makes his perspective particularly intriguing is the juxtaposition of his past as a child of a Jewish family during World War II and his subsequent belief in mutant supremacy over regular humans, even after enduring years of persecution. This worldview has driven him to lead the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and various other factions in opposition to the X-Men and Earth's other heroes. Magneto's reputation as a formidable force precedes him. His unparalleled power and extensive experience position him as an adversary few dare to challenge. Remarkably, to prove his power, there was a moment when he had his heart torn out by the villain Uranos. Yet, he somehow defied death by using his powers to maintain the circulation of his own body. This incident kind of proves the sheer magnitude of his abilities and his enduring legacy in the Marvel Universe.
At number 5 is Proteus. Proteus is the lunatic son of Moria McTaggart, wielding a reality warping power that exceeds the boundaries of comprehension. His ability to manipulate the fabric of existence is a cosmic anomaly, but it comes at a grave cost. See, Proteus is forced to leap from one fragile vessel to another, for his extraordinary energy consumption quickly decays living flesh. But it's a two-sided coin, because as a psychokinetic being, Proteus may be temporarily defeated, but his essence endures, an ethereal psychokinetic specter lurking in the shadows. Operating on the principle of sight and concentration, Proteus reshapes reality itself, albeit momentarily. So, for example, he may transform a building into a swarm of bees, but the moment his focus wavers, say to warp some other aspect of reality, like when he turns Cyclops' laser beams into popcorn, the bees revert back to their original form, the building. Yet make no mistake, this mutant stands atop the Omega level hierarchy. He once vanquished Jean Grey, even while she wielded the formidable Phoenix Force.
Number 4, Matthew Malloy. Matthew Malloy is a sad character. Coming from Earth 14923, his mutant abilities manifested thanks to an extremely traumatic event involving his wife and some Skrulls, and they quickly went out of his control. He essentially has the ability to tap into an extra-dimensional power source that allows him to warp reality to his will. With that power, he's displayed telekinesis, telepathy, catatonic explosions, matter manipulation, teleportation, and even self-resurrection. As his powers manifested, an eruption of energy followed, destroying everything around him, which only made things worse for him. After that incident, Matthew stood in a massive sinkhole he created when he was then approached by a robotic drone with a holographic image of director Maria Hill, who questioned him if he was responsible for the disaster and if he was a mutant. He was not in a good emotional state and was pretty uncontrollable, and so she sent a strike team to his location only for him to uncontrollably release his power and obliterate everyone in the area again. After this, S.H.I.E.L.D. sent an airstrike that obliterated him and the X-Men, Cyclops, and Magic, but using his powers, he returned back to life and teleported to the Jean Grey school, where he took the life of Emma Frost. It was not until Tempest used her powers to go back in time, and with the help of Professor X of the past, managed to make Malloy's parents never meet, causing him to never have been born in the first place and cease to exist in the present, saving Cyclops, Magic, and Emma Frost. list.
At number 3 is Mad Jim Jaspers. Sir James Jaspers was the head of the Conservative Party in Britain and ran an anti-superhuman platform. And after winning the election in a landslide, Jaspers served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom before it was revealed that he himself was a mutant, and one with vast reality warping powers at that. Going mad with power, Jaspers came into conflict with Captain Britain and Fury, who managed to defeat him by shunting him off to a completely barren universe in which there was no matter or energy for him to control. But this wasn't really a big deal for Jimmy because after all of causality is thrown into chaos, he comes back to life. Not only that, but Jasper claims that he's solely responsible for the creation of everything in his universe, including living beings. So to say that this guy is beyond Omega level is an understatement. He's more like a deity than anything else.
And at number 2 today is Strife. Strife's origin is a complex tale involving cloning, Mother Ascani, and the influence of the infamous Apocalypse. He's essentially a clone of Nathan Summers, who's better known as Cable. However, what sets Strife apart is that he represents what Cable might have become if not for the constant battle against the techno-organic virus that plagues him. Unlike Cable, Strife doesn't face this limitation. Much like his counterpart, Strife is classified as an Omega level telekinetic, and he confidently lays claim to that title. In fact, he's considered the 3rd most powerful of his kind on Earth. His telepathic powers rival that of other top-tier telepaths, boasting both potent defensive and offensive telekinetic abilities. To add to his arsenal, he's been cybernetically enhanced by Apocalypse, granting him superhuman physical attributes. Strife is an imposing and relentless villain, a force that should just never be underestimated.
And coming in at number 1 is Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, is a marvel of Marvel. She started off as a villain with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but soon switched sides to become one of the Avengers' most iconic members. Her power is all about bending probability and reality. Originally thought to be her mutant power, it's actually innately magical thanks to her lineage and the High Evolutionaries meddling. Alongside her twin brother Quicksilver, Wanda's powers initially manifested as hex bolts, volatile bolts of chaotic energy that altered the very fabric of probability. Initially, Wanda didn't have full control over the power and could accidentally hex objects with hand gestures like a magical Italian. Oh. She eventually gains more control through practice, but her abilities aren't just limited to hex bolts. She's a bona fide witch wielding chaos magic. With training from Agatha Harkness, she can control elements and organic matter. This means that she can manipulate not just probability, but the very fabric of existence. When we talk about villains with beyond Omega level powers, Wanda Maximoff is right up there. Her ability to reshape reality and command chaos makes her a cosmic force to be reckoned with.
Number 10, Goblin Queen. I know, I'm actually hurting my own dark heart by putting the great Goblin Queen Madeline Pryor so low on this list, but there are a lot of powerful mutants out there. I'm sorry, Maddie. Madeline Pryor is the mutant clone of Jean Grey, who was created by Mr. Sinister, using a little piece of the Phoenix Force. I don't know how you even get that, but this is Mr. Sinister, so I guess there's nothing he can't get his hands on. He's all about collecting genetic material and I guess bits of fantastical things with which he can manufacture powerful mutants. Granted, for him, Maddie was meant to be simply a means to an end, helping him to get the genetic offspring of Madeline's and Scott's, aka Cyclops, whom Maddie did end up marrying. It turned out, however, that Sinister had bitten off more than he could chew with Maddie. Once she learned the truth of her origin, she went kind of insane, and her mutant powers began to manifest. Some don't believe Maddie to be as powerful as Jean, which is why she's ranked lower here, but technically, I believe that she would be at the same level or at least close to Jean, making her also an Omega level mutant. Maddie also has the added power set of magic, which she has dabbled in before, and through said dabbling gained the title of Goblin Queen. Also, I gotta be honest, I'm mostly putting her at 10 because I know you all like the Goblin Queen with me. So she's a good intro point, even though, yeah, I agree, I think she should be higher up. I think I've put her close to number 1 before on one of these things, so just not her day. She already had her day in the spotlight. Number 9, Vulcan. I know some people might be disappointed that Vulcan is ranked so low on this list, but truly, it's really only because we have such powerhouses ahead of us, like I said. No powerhouse though. Sorry, Franklin. Apparently you don't get to be a mutant anymore. At least not for now. No more Krakoan weekend retreats for you. But anyways, back to Vulcan. Vulcan's power set is all about energy manipulation. Despite being the youngest Summer's brother, he also happens to be the most powerful. Where Cyclops is a good guy and Havoc is often a confused guy, Vulcan is often an evil guy, though he hasn't always been evil. It does seem that there is something villainous deeply embedded within him though that just comes out. It is unknown if there are even limits when it comes to how much energy Vulcan can manipulate, harness, and or absorb. Number 8. Exodus. Exodus is Bennett du Paris. Initially living in the 12th century, he ended up becoming an ally to Apocalypse, who also manipulated Exodus, making him likely more powerful than he would have ever been without said tampering. Exodus is considered to be immortal, and can also heal and resurrect others, and heal and regenerate parts of himself. He is also an immensely powerful psionic mutant. He can feed off the life force energy of others, is a powerful empath, telepath, and telekinetic. Not only that, but he is insanely durable, basically being impossible to kill or destroy, and can teleport. While we don't talk much about him, Bennett is pretty powerful and scary, hence why he has a seat on the Quiet Council of Krakoa. Here in that seat. Number 7. Legion. Legion is really powerful overall as a mutant, especially considering his power sets are pretty much endless. He is considered Omega level due to his power manifestation abilities for this reason. Legion is David Haller, the son of Professor Charles Xavier and Gabrielle Haller. David is often depicted as living with a severe dissociative identity disorder, having over 100 personalities residing within him, each with their own power set. Because of this, Legion is often considered a big wild card when it comes to his alignment. He is very chaotic, but more often has been considered a villain as opposed to a hero. Although right now, I would say he's more on the hero side, but of course, most mutants seem to be these days because Krakoa is a thing, so everyone gets to be a hero. Yay! Still, there are villains lurking in the shadows. Number 6. Tarn the Uncaring. Tarn is one of the Iraqi mutants who is kind of like the Arakko version of Mr. Sinister, except that Tarn is an Omega level mutant who also has magic based powers as well. Tarn's powers are mainly psionic in nature, granting him the ability to read minds while also causing pain to his target. Actually hurts when he reads your mind. Tarn is also a very strong telekinetic. Like Mr. Sinister, he is obsessed with evolution and genes, and is capable of altering the genetic makeup of other mutants. In fact, I think he does this with like magic. And I think it's actually part of his power set too, so it's not just a passion. The Locust Vile are what Tarn calls his loyal servants. These are Iraqi mutants that Tarn basically experimented on. While most don't survive his experimentation process, the ones who do have become loyal to him and basically see Tarn as their god. Tarn also has the ability to teleport, so yeah, he's just scary OP. He's just a person that I'm like, wow, I love that this is the Hellions, like one of their villains. And they're a mess, but it's like, here, take Tarn. He's crazy. He's crazy powerful. Good luck. Number 5. Magneto. Magneto is an extremely powerful mutant. He is known as the master of magnetism, and his power set allows him to control and manipulate anything that might be considered magnetic fields, and anything metal based usually. Guns are useless against him. He can disassemble them or crumple them with a mere thought, and can use his powers even to move giant mounds of rock by grabbing hold of the metals within them. He has used his powers in tandem with his daughter Polaris before to move an entire island, and he also used his powers to give Mars a jumpstart when the mutants were terraforming it in the Planet-Size X-Men issue from 2021. We see Magneto here grabbing all the iron needed for the project and bringing it to Mars, and using his powers to upstart the molten core, compressing it and bringing it to the required temperature. Number 4. Genesis. Genesis isn't exactly a villain just yet, but she was an antagonist during the Ten of Swords event, so based on what we've seen, I think we can kind of count her as one. Also, basically most of the Iraqi mutants can be considered more on the villainous side of things. They initially opposed Krakoa and also generally are a lot more deadly and violent in nature. They are a nation who is kind of all about war sure, or at least has been for centuries. Genesis herself was the ruler of Okara, ruling alongside her husband Apocalypse back when he was there with her, before he left and before Okara basically split into two separate islands, Krakoa and Arakko. Genesis remained on Arakko while Apocalypse headed to Earth, hoping to rally a new mutant society to bring back Arakko, which would help fight against the invading Amenthi demons. Genesis ended up becoming the new Annihilation, the leader of the Amenthi army, joining the demons with her own people, the Araki. Apocalypse fought against his wife in the Ten of Swords event and defeated her, freeing her from the possession of the Golden Helm of Annihilation. Genesis's mutant powers allow her to manipulate and control plant life. She is also an extremely strong and skilled fighter, and like Apocalypse and her sister Iska, has an extremely prolonged lifespan. Number 3. Apocalypse. Apocalypse is still one of the most powerful mutants out there. His Omega level power is that of evolution, meaning there is pretty much nothing that Apocalypse can't adapt to survive through. Over time, he gets more and more powerful as well, so the longer he lives, the more unstoppable in theory he will become. Apocalypse has proven just how much of a threat he can be, and all I'll say is I'm glad he's currently on the side of Krakoa, as he makes as powerful an ally as he does a powerful villain. Apocalypse not only has his mutant power set, but is also very experienced in magics as well. Fun fact. Also, Apocalypse may have never formally been acknowledged as an Omega level mutant, but I feel like we gotta count him because he totally seems Omega level, right? He's also come up against other Omega levels and bested them, so that's gotta count for something. Seriously, I couldn't find anything saying that he was Omega level, and I was like, how has this never come up before? How have we never classified Apocalypse as Omega? So whoever is watching this, if you're writing some X-Men comics right now, please do that. Jonathan Hickman, well, your time is coming to an end, but if you're still involved, please help us out. Pass it on to the X folks. Number 2, Iska the Unbeaten. Iska is another mutant from Arakko. So many of them are so powerful, Iska included. Iska's mutant power makes her pretty much undefeatable. She can never lose. That's her mutant power, yep. However, that also seems to mean if she is on the losing side of a battle, she is forced to flip sides, whether or not she truly wants to. Iska, I think, has one of the coolest mutant powers we've seen in a while. It's so creative, yet so simple and brilliant. Like other mutants who were meeting Iska for the first time, I was also obsessed with the idea of her power set. Iska being unable to lose means in theory she could beat almost anyone, or I suppose would have to refuse or evade fighting them somehow were she to potentially lose. Which is also an interesting element to her power set that I'd love to see explored more in the comics. In the Ten of Swords tournament, the first battle was between Betsy Braddock, aka Captain Britain, and Iska, and Betsy was quickly defeated. That is how powerful Iska is. Poor Betsy, strong as she might be, didn't seem to stand a chance. And I love how going into that battle she was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. Probably not great for me. Number 1, Monarch. I feel like we are always sleeping on Jamie Braddock somewhat on these lists and on this channel, so I thought it only appropriate that we make sure he's higher up this time around because he is really cool. Especially as Franklin Richards is no longer currently classified as a mutant in the comics. Franklin, aka Powerhouse, was considered to be one of the most powerful mutants around and was also known for his reality warping powers. Though both these characters have the ability to reality warp, each power set is basically based in a different type of reality warping. Like there's a different basis to it, if that makes sense. Monarch's powers work on a quantum level, and although there are people who can influence Monarch's powers by manipulating his mind, as we saw Jean do in Planet Size X-Men, he also is pretty powerful as someone who can just make things happen and think things into existence basically, as we also saw in Planet Size X-Men. When he was like, oh, you need a thing? Boom, done.
Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Loki. The Disney Plus original is now 2 episodes in, and the God of Mischief is actually quite fun. We like watching him. Now, before the monologues and ruling, he made his first comic book appearance in Venus, issue 6, and in the Silver Age he entered with Journey into Mystery, issue 85. Now, before Loki even gets up to anything Omega or crazy in the comics, he was already condemned by the gods. He was trapped in a tree, so you know, he's a bit of a dick. But even so, he still figured out how to control this tree and then break free. Bonus points for rhyming. Now, since day one, this guy's had tricks up his trunk. Now, Loki is a master manipulator now, and when his lies don't even cover his trails, I'm sure his psionic capabilities ought to do it in some way, shape, or form. Be it astral form or he can do anything he wants, basically. Number 9, the Marquee of Death. Clyde Wincham Jr. made his Marvel debut in Marvel 1985, issue 2. He's considered one of the most powerful entities in the Marvel universe. The Marquee of Death is one of the only survivors of his reality. He's the only mutant in his universe. And when his powers were uncontrollable, Reed Richards found him and then held him on our Earth, 616, in a place called Area 87. So he sat there with his helmet on, he was controlled. He spent an eternity having good dreams, just staying safe, not a bad time at all. It could be way worse. But then when Area 87 was inevitably attacked, Clyde's mind was restored, and now he was just out to destroy. He spent eternity mastering time and space. So once he was free, he wiped out everything that he came in contact with in every multiverse. He's responsible for training Dr. Doom. He taught him everything that he knows, because he saw potential in Victor. Then he traveled to Earth one dimension away and killed everybody in the world except for Reed Richards, his husband Jack Storm, the Human Torch of that world, and then the Sun. So it's just Reed, the Human Torch, and then the Sun, all hanging out, getting a tan, just being bored out of their mind. Number 8, Hela. She first appeared in Journey into Mystery issue 102. Hela, aka the Goddess of Death, cool nickname. She's the oldest of Odin's children. She was in Thor Ragnarok. She was Odin's personal executioner, and she's the same person who broke Thor's hammer with her bare hands. So when somebody dies in a battle, they're sent to Valhalla by Odin's Valkyries. But when a dishonorable soul dies, it stays in the body until Hela comes around and then condemns it with her touch of death. She also doesn't even have to wait until you die either. She can just boop a healthy Asgardian to death. That's intimidating. You don't want to play tag with Hela. Or if you do, just don't get caught. Do not get caught. Wear your good shoes for that one. Number 7, Queen of Fables. I like to throw in a fun one. Let's do it. She made her first debut in JLA issue 47. Now, once upon a time, long ago, she ruled until a princess named Snow White came along and trapped her in the Book of Fables. She was trapped in a book. So already I'm like, Yeah, Snow White made fact into fiction, and then she was stuck in this book like Jumanji style, and then naturally many years later she was released. Now, but what makes the Queen of Fables so interesting and like Omega and weird and fun is that she doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. She treats everything like it's a fairy tale, almost like I do every day. I'm like, no, I'm not emptying the dishwasher, father. Be gone, fool. So if you have any theater school friends, they're kind of like that all the time, only with magical powers. Reality altering magical powers. Now, one of the only things that can hurt her is Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. Of course, because it snaps her out of this reality, this literal fantasy that she's living. Now, I love when the Queen of Fables is released because it's so terrifying. I would never want to be this family who has to deal with this. It starts with a mother reading to her son, and then after she realizes that the book's a little twisted, it's too late. There's like demons out, it's literal, it's hell. It's like Jumanji, it's a nightmare. Number 6, Galactus. The wielder of the power cosmic. This one has to eat planets in order to survive. Quite the appetite. Galactus is the devourer of worlds, the great destroyer. He made his first appearance in Fantastic Four issue 48. He is the sole survivor of the 6th incarnation of the multiverse. But it didn't always start that way. Originally, he was a humanoid named Galen, born on a previous version of Earth called Planet Ta, which I like more than Earth. It sounds kind of assertive. Yeah, there's Venus, there's Neptune, and then Ta. Okay, Ta, what a good one. It was a paradise whose civilization was way more advanced than any other in the universe at the time. And then when the cosmos were soon ending, the embodiment of the 6th infinity, the sentience of the multiverse, approached Galen and merged with him, just became him. Now Galactus resides in the 7th iteration of his universe, which is our Earth 616. Ooh, scary. This dude's wild. He ate Infinity Stones once. In Thanos issue 4, he ate the Infinity Stones. If you can't beat him, eat him, I guess. Number 5, Matthew Malloy. That's a nice name. He doesn't sound very scary, right? Right? This one is very tragic, this poor man. Okay, Matthew was a regular Joe living in Charleston, South Carolina, when all of a sudden Earth gets hit with a Skrull invasion. Sounds like a brutal time already, but then when his wife Jules is vaporized by a blast from a Skrull ship and his home is just gone, it's toast, it's bad. It's not looking good. He's severely depressed. Now, a year later, he sees his late wife's sister and they catch up. And it's hard for Matthew. He hasn't seen her up until this point. So it's hard to talk about this stuff. The trauma was still in there. The trauma is very intense. And that's when his mutant powers manifested. He erupted with energy, so much energy that it ended the life of the sister. So like, it's the worst luck. This poor family and this poor guy, Matthew. So then he's standing there in the middle of this crater in shock. And then that's when Maria Hill's hologram shows up on a drone. And she's like, "Are you okay? Are you a mutant?" And he's like, "Ah," and he freaked out a little bit more, and then she sent a strike team, and then this caused him to release even more power and then take more lives. All bad. Hashtag all bad. So S.H.I.E.L.D. ended up sending in an airstrike as well, which ended up obliterating Cyclops, Matthew, and Magic, but he was too powerful. This guy came back to life, and then he teleported to the Jean Grey School. This is not looking good, folks. How is he gonna get out of this? How are we gonna get out of this? He also took the life of Emma Frost when he got there. It's really bad. So Tempest decided the only way to take care of this beyond Omega level threat was to go back in time. We gotta make sure his parents never meet. Then we can avoid some serious casualties. Number 4, Mephisto. He made his first appearance as a serpent in Bible Tales for Young Folk, issue 1, one of my favorites, have that up on the shelf. And then he made his first full appearance as Mephisto in Silver Surfer, issue 3. And this guy's been nothing but trouble since. I mean, obviously he's the devil. And sometimes you have to make a deal with the devil to get out of some sticky situations. Literally, like when Spider-Man revealed his identity in the Civil War storyline, that led to a bullet striking Aunt May instead of Peter, so he felt at fault, which, yeah, fair, totally is. He's totally at fault. Don't ever tell anyone your name if you have superpowers. Obviously. So what to do? Who to call? Do we have a Ouija board? Let's try the devil. Let's see what happens. Mephisto offers Peter a deal while Aunt May is dying in the hospital, so he gives him no choice, really. He's kind of mean like that. But the deal was that the world will forget about Peter's identity so that Aunt May lives. But the whole Mephisto deal part is that MJ and Peter never got married. So they hug it out one last time and then poof, the deal is sealed. The next day Peter wakes up and just like that, the world has changed. Karate kicks and quips won't save you this time, Pete. Number 3, Darkseid. He made his first debut in the world of comics back in 1970 in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, issue 134. He was born into the royal family of Apocalypse. He's this brutal dictator and he rules the planet, but his main goal reaches further than that planet though. He actually wants to rule all of the life in the universe. Start small and immediately to the biggest thing. Cool, we like it, that's cool. He started out as kind of a jerk brother, and then one day when Drax was trying to make a connection to the Omega realm on his birthday and take his god name, the mean brother Uxas, Darkseid, came around and interrupted the whole thing. He took the power for himself, like a classic jerk brother. Now the worst part in all of this is that when he took the power, his brother Drax didn't even survive this process. How sad is that? And then when Uxas came out, he took the name of Darkseid, which sounds way more cool, first of all, but he was also the most feared in all the god names, so nobody else took this god name after him. Darkseid can understand how the universe works on a cosmic level. In Countdown issue 9, for example, he says his vision extends beyond the known realities, and he says all things must end. Okay, nice. He can also control others as well, like in Countdown issue 3, he uses Jimmy Olsen as a vessel. Nightmare, what a nightmare scenario. Number 2, Ego. The living planet, kind of a big deal, literally a big deal as well. Making his first appearance in Thor 132, after the stranger visits his home star to conduct an experiment that would cause it to explode, it would go supernova and destroy the planets orbiting it, right? Now a scientist named Egros was determined to save his species from this. I mean, didn't sound like a pleasant way to go out, so great call. So the day before its destruction, Destruction Eve, Egros was like, okay, everybody move into these bunkers at the planet's core, that way when the sun goes bye-bye, when it goes supernova, we're still safe. Deal? Awesome. Get under there. Go, little fucker. Get under there. Cool. It's a good plan, I guess. Everybody makes their way down, but Egros doesn't make it in time. The sun started to go supernova sooner than they had all expected, so Egros got stuck in the blast. Now this made everything around him just merge together, including him. Every living thing turned him into this planet, a living planet. It's not so bad though, being a planet. He does have a companion. Of course he has this selfish moon named Id. Imagine having a moon just orbiting around you. What a treat. He would just check in on you every 3 days or so. And finally, number 1, Ares. The god of war himself. Yeah, let's finish with Ares. He entered DC Comics back in Wonder Woman issue 1, but long before that in Greek religion, he was the spirit of battle. He represents the distasteful aspects of brutal warfare and slaughter. Put that on a LinkedIn, that sounds nice, that's catchy. So when you see him in comics, you already have a sense of the power within him. Now the son of Zeus and Hera, yet still Ares didn't fit in with the other gods of Olympus. I wonder why. So he created his own realm, the Areopagus. He tried his hardest to destroy the Amazons, but luckily that's when Wonder Woman was brought into this wonderful world. So she made it quite hard for him to conquer.